have questions, I don't mind if you interrupt. Kind of just, I'm an occupational therapist, so Erica asked if I would come and just, kind of, talk about that. So that's what I'm kind of gonna do. I did make like an outline just so you all can have something to go by too. But just kind of how occupational therapy can help with Parkinson's disease and any movement disorder. So some of this, you may not, you may not be ready for like having therapy as far as occupational therapy, but there's a lot of good things that you can, do, and I'll touch on those to, to keep moving. That is the goal, is to keep moving and be as independent as possible. So I'm just going to hand these out, and then you can just kind of follow along. You can keep these, and it's just kind of just touching base on occupational therapy. Do you want one too?
Sure.
I don't know if you need it, but you can follow along too. So occupational therapy. So I don't know, are any of you familiar with what we do? I know, and it's fine. I mean, I've been a therapist for 28 years, and I see clients all the time that have never heard of occupational therapy. So it's okay if you don't know, because a lot of people don't. Physical therapy is very obvious, and speech therapy, you kind of know what they do. But so occupational therapy, we work more on, if there's a deficit, that impacts your daily living. So we kind of encompass it, like your occupation, which, like if, we work with children, so their occupation would be, development or play, or, in the school systems. With adults and the older population, it would be, activities of daily living. And then I did highlight what that is. So that's things like getting out of bed, taking a shower, dressing and eating. Obviously there's more things that you do in your daily routine, but those are some of the things. Instrumental activities of daily living, that is things that you just do, but you don't think of. So it's like, the laundry, caring if you have a pet, cooking, driving, those type of things. So I currently work as a home health therapist, and I also work in an outpatient clinic. And it's typically, adults, geriatrics. I've been practicing for over 28 years, been in different areas. That the rehabilitation part is what I enjoy. And I enjoy home health very much. So a lot of what I'll talk about a little bit later, I did bring a home safety checklist. So that's coming from like my home health background, like things to kind of prepare to keep you safe from falls, things like that. Making things easier. So for Parkinson's, occupational therapy generally provides like assessment, treatment, recommendations for these following areas. So upper body, so arm, hand therapy. We do driver evaluations. Fraser has an excellent program for, people that, if they've had a stroke, different, injuries, cognitive impairments, to make sure that they're safe for driving. There are other, I'm sure you guys probably know other resources for that as well, but Fraser is the one that I've always recommended. So we do address cooking, homemaking. A lot of times it's adaptations, just making things easier at home. Ways to conserve your energy. Simple things like, sit, if you're, if you love to cook, have a place where you can sit to conserve your energy so you're not so fatigued to complete other tasks. Computer modifications, we also work in the workplace as well to make modifications for equipment, things like that. And then just leisure skills. So, over the years I've worked with people who really wanted to get back to their golf swing, playing tennis, things like that. And it could have been from like a shoulder injury, those kind of things. So some of the things so we basically, it's what you would need. So if there's a part in the journey with Parkinson's that, you're having some difficulty in just your everyday task, then, that's when, your doctor could recommend an occupational therapist. it could be, just equipment needs, just an evaluation of like the home, or just making suggestions. So some of the symptoms that we tend to look at and treat would be the tremors. So trembling or shaking in the hands, because these things affect, your writing skills, your feeding skills, just, things that you do on a daily basis. So the smaller movements in your hands. So definitely the walking is impacted, but the smaller movements are as well. So that's kind of like where, physical therapy and occupational therapy, we kind of overlap a lot of times. But that's one thing that, PT usually doesn't address that upper body and hand part as far as, dealing with like tremors and slow movements, stiffness. So difficulty walking, that, puts you at risk for falling. So those are things that, if you notice anything, you would definitely want to talk to your doctor about, having possibly physical or occupational therapy. So with Parkinson's, the next part is about exercise. So there is no cure, but multiple studies, and being a therapist for many years, I can definitely see the impact of exercise and how it does alleviate symptoms and slows progression. So on the next page, it's just talking about like 4 main things for exercise. So aerobic, so that's like your walking, cycling, anything to get your heart pumping. Strengthening exercises, using weights or resistive bands to try to strengthen those muscles. So, the main thing is to keep your body strong. But you also want to be flexible, so balance, doing Tai Chi, dance, boxing, anything to help get you more steady on your feet. And then stretching. Stretching is one of the main things that I always recommend. Because it helps even in getting dressed. So the first thing when you get out of bed, do your stretching exercises, because it's going to help you be more flexible to be able to, make things like getting in the shower, getting your clothes on a little bit easier. So I don't know, the next section is about the Loud and Big programs. I don't know if anybody's familiar with those.
Well,
you may
did add some with physical therapy. She was saying,
yes.
Big movements and different things.
Yeah, so that is exactly what it is. Now the loud part, and I think you all had a speech therapist come, so she may have mentioned about that. So that's, because it does affect, communication and your speaking. So that's that. But the big, yes. Where did you go for your physical therapy?
It was free,
yes. Yeah, because there's not a lot of therapists that are, trained, but there are quite a few. Fraser has an excellent program. I put on there the Crestman.
Emily at the time, and she was
great. Yeah, so, and that's something that, he's finished the program, I guess, now, and, if he needs to go back,
We're not sure. Is Fraser down at the Chestnut still, or he had to go somewhere else? Because when I called the one number, they said it was disconnected.
I'm not aware. We might be wrong.
Yeah.
There is, I know off Brownsville Road,
Well, this point, we're kind of, since he's doing a lot of exercise, but he has issues with balance, so sometimes it's helpful to go physical
most
therapy
definitely.
to kind of tweak some of the stuff.
Right. And then they can also do, like you're under a physical therapist, but some of the programs you can, and I'm not sure about Fraser. I know at the Crestman Center sometimes they have personal trainers that will kind of like a maintenance program and if they notice something different, then of course physical therapy would come back in. But yeah, so that's the main thing is working on the deficit. So if balance is an issue, then we definitely want to do that. So yeah, so the big program has really been beneficial for a lot of people. And then of course boxing and dancing. So you all can, and I didn't realize that that's what you do until just this past week. I'm like, and I thought, oh good, I'm glad I wrote that on there. it's incredible. You know, it's like, you know, you all could talk for hours about the benefits, but I mean, we can see it, like, obviously in a home health setting or even outpatient setting, we can't do we can't do boxing at all, but, you know, the dancing, and I have seen that even in the home, music therapy, you know, it's amazing how that can bring people out of, you know, in later stages even, the ability. So can't say anything but wonderful things. So obviously it decreases stiffness, increases balance, strength, reduces tremors. And then I just wrote down, so dance-wise for Parkinson's is one here locally, but there's a couple others.
We advertise or promote, is it dancing for Parkinson's?
Oh yeah, there is one.
That's the one that we're partnered with, and we promote them on our calendar.
Oh good.
They're strictly on Zoom. They're out of Canada. And they have them every day. They're 10 a.m. And we have them on our calendar with the Zoom link.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
Anybody who's interested, that Zoom link is on our calendar.
Okay, that's good for me to know to pass on to a lot of my clients. And then I was telling Erica too, so like, you know, with us therapy, you know, this is the National Parkinson Institute, I mean, is a huge resource. So I personally would say go to them for everything. Obviously, you know, your physician can make recommendation, and you know, that's what you want to follow as well before starting any kind of exercise program. But as therapists, we don't know some of the things that you all offer, which is, in my opinion, kind of sad. I love that there's so many resources and that it's a free service, and I just don't think that, you know, a lot of maybe physicians or programs know about it.
Parkinson's, they also have, you can go like on YouTube and they have some of those exercises.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. The next thing, and you had mentioned doing aquatic therapy, so I put that one on there because, you know, that's doing water, you know, exercise in water is, you know, if you have orthopedic issues, but obviously movement disorders, I mean, it is amazing how much more you can do and tolerate. So I'm definitely have seen a lot of clients do well from doing the water exercise. So first-time exercisers or long-time athletes, the main thing is movement and doing it safely and regularly. So then I wanted to just kind of address, because since I'm occupational therapy, like hand coordination. So, you know, that is, again, just working on exercise with your hands. You know, if you enjoy knitting, painting, playing the piano, those type of things, even if it's something that you haven't done in a while, I would strongly encourage to kind of bring those into your life. It doesn't have to be an everyday thing, but those are things that are enjoyable, but they also are very beneficial for stimulating your hands and keeping those movements. But going back to like the big program, so yes, like when you do exercise, you know, it's stretching and, you know, it's definitely, you know, full motion and wide and big. So
yeah, and everything that we've done this past month in our Rock City boxing, the non-boxing stations, we were pretty much doing all occupational therapy, fine motor skills.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. We said it led up great to this because we did all month, you know, each week
working on
all fine motor skills and working on, you know, the occupational therapy part of it, and then ended with you.
Yeah, with well, that's fantastic.
So the way that our Rock City class is set up is half of our class is boxing, the other half is ungloved. So there's, like he's saying, worked out perfectly because we did all occupational therapy theme.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
Whether it's taking washers off a boat or screwing on the nut onto the boat or off of it.
So that is exactly.
ping
you would
pong
recommend?
balls, circling them in their hands, picking up a piece of straw with a fork.
Right.
What are some of the others? Picking up coins and then holding them in your hand, or
Yeah,
picking up
coins
Scrabble pieces.
are wonderful. You know,
Yeah.
with home health, we don't have a lot of equipment. So, like when I worked in rehab, we had all these things, but I literally will look around the house. Coins is usually one of the first things, for stacking and picking up bolts and I mean all those things that you have in the house.
Or you can go into their cabinet, and one of the things that we used was picking the marshmallows out of Lucky Charms.
I love that you did that.
Look at that, fantastic.
So creative.
St. Patrick's
See,
Day
you should be
themed.
That honestly,
He
Yes.
can think of things in his dreams, I think.
I mean
Very
that's
creative.
really that is
He
fabulous.
has spent time in the development physical therapy.
Oh yeah.
So he had his therapy background.
Well, most definitely. I mean, and again, it's all those things are helping with your everyday tasks. So, you sometimes, think, why would we be doing it? But it really is beneficial. So,
Having a cup on the floor and a golf ball.
yes.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
So, did you all do that too?
Yeah, we do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
With a golf club.
Will you, I don't know, one of the things that he loves to do is write on the computer, and you were saying about different things, and is there, one of the things is with that, do they figure out, like sometimes when he's typing, like with posture or anything
Oh,
else?
it's like starts with yeah.
Because he leans.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I mean, we see that a lot. Yeah, so I mean, like sometimes it's simple things, like even just putting a pillow, just to kind of, if there's a side that sometimes the side that you lean to is kind of like your weaker side, for whatever reason. But so yeah, just trying to work on. Again, the exercise will help because it helps with your core, which will help with sitting. But if you notice that and you're sitting for a long time trying to type. Just help like positioning, using like a pillow or something to, kind of position.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was, and then he's worried about, because he loves to write, like do they have different adaptive things to help with?
There are adaptive equipment for, like for computers, like, sometimes, now if he, I would like to say, I'd like to encourage him to keep typing and doing that, but they also have the voice where you can just talk to it and, it'll write what you're wanting to say, but as long as you're able to do it, I would say
biggest thing I think sometimes,
it's probably fatigue, so maybe, the writing, don't do it at the end of the day, do it when you've been rested or your medication's working the best, that way, you can kind of plan it in your day, which I know sometimes writing, it may not be, might not be planned, right? It's like, you think of things and you want to go
Do
right.
it right there.
But yeah, I mean, you might want to just look at like your seat, and
Just
how
have a kitchen
supportive
chair, so-
kitchen chair, yeah.
So I don't know if something if it had
Arms.
or not.
Yeah, that might actually make a difference, just because it kind of gets you in, kind of secures you in there, and then it, mentioning like a pillow or something to kind of keep your core stable. So
Something else that we can even possibly look at, something that you could travel with if you don't have already. Because one of the stations that we would always do was we have this like half of a guy boxing equipment, they call him a bob. And we would put a flannel shirt on him, and so it would be buttoning and unbuttoning. But then one of the things is she made an apron, so it
You
would still
did?
have the buttoning and unbuttoning.
I have another one that I want to make, but
So
I've
how
been busy with
creative.
it.
Yeah.
And that
Then the
too.
zipper,
Yes.
zipping and unzipping, and then baby snaps, like snapping
Yes.
and unsnapping.
So you made one of those?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fabulous.
I had some thought about trying to do another one, but I've made stuff for the gala and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a upcoming gala.
I mean, those are huge. I mean, that again, over the years, it's like you don't know how beneficial that is. So, so that's fantastic to be doing.
And I have been talking about
And that you all have,
instrument.
have that to.
And that now that I'm retired, I don't have to, but I taught myself again how to play classical.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, I'm trying to play more. I played it for a small consignment store across a shop the other day for them for they had like a spring tea or something, and I did that.
So, and then did you play piano? Or no?
I only had that when I was little, and we don't have really room for a piano. But
Mhm.
no, I play classical guitar.
Oh, that's what, okay, that's what, I when you said classical, I was thinking piano, but yeah. Well, so that's fabulous.
But you know, it's like it's nice to have the time to be able to work on it. But I know sometimes like okay, I have to watch my position because I do have trouble with my hands. I get like the thumb after a while gets like it's sore, stuff like that. So I
Right.
don't know. I'm like, okay, do I have the position right?
So you're trying to think like an OT, like adapting, and
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah. So music, I mean, no matter any age, I mean, it's one of the best things that you can do for cognitive, you know, physical well-being, and just like emotional. And
Well, and I had so much trouble with my asthma for this after COVID and breathing. I had different issues, and now you know, like it helps. You know, I've been singing more, and it helps, you know, clear so I don't have as much breathing.
yes, because you're using your diaphragm. No, see, those are wonderful things. Yeah, I had a gentleman I worked with, and I'll just last thing share about music, and then we'll move on. But he was later stage Parkinson's, and I hadn't seen him multiple times. And he played the piano. I didn't know that and I had seen him on and off a couple of years because he was having frequent falls. So he'd end up in the hospital, and then would be needing physical and occupational therapy again. But anyway, he had a piano. He had kind of a cluttered house, but he had a beautiful piano. And one day his wife mentioned that he used to play like all the time for his church. And so the challenge was getting him on just to sit in front of the piano. And he didn't think he could ever do it again because he really had severe tremors, and he was able to play. And so that was his homework. So the next time I said, I want you to play this song when I get back. And he was able to do that. And it was so therapeutic. And it was nothing it was nothing genius. It was just literally the piano. And,
Be able to do it.
yeah, and it was something he enjoyed. So, but okay, so we kind of touched on a lot of the hand coordination, so we'll skip over that. So now this next section, it could be things that doesn't really apply for any of you, but just to kind of have like in your memory bank. So mentioning, I did mention that if you have Parkinson's or live with someone who does, chances are you come up with many creative solutions, and that's literally what you guys are all doing. So that's kind of, again, what OT helps with. So like kitchen, it could, simple things is reorganizing, rearrange, making things, more accessible, breaking down the task if it's, like for meal preparation. If there is difficulty with hand grip, there are special utensils, and somewhere on here I think I said Amazon is a great resource. If you can think it, Amazon usually has it. Gould's Medical, which is right across the street, they have a lot of adaptive equipment. But Amazon has a lot of things, but sometimes it can be things that you can do on your own, like if you're handy, go into Lowe's. There's different things like to build up a utensil, a pencil, foam, rubber. Sometimes is really good. Doesn't have to be anything expensive. There are weighted utensils that cancel out tremors. So if it's someone who does have, severe tremors, sometimes that is recommended. I have often put just cuff weights and use a regular utensil if their grip was still okay. But there are very specialized equipment, and of course those are going to be more expensive. But if that ever came where somebody was needing that, then I would recommend like having occupational therapy, just kind of make recommendations for that. So bathroom and hygiene, so like these are just simple things. If you're noticing things getting more difficult, or if you've had a fall, So grab bars, a shower seat, that's, you know, to conserve energy. That's one of the big things is, you know, you don't, sometimes the shower, things that we do every day make you fatigued. So you want to be able to do the rest of the day, so a shower seat often helps. Faucets and toothpaste tubes, so like, you know, things that have a pump, installing touch on and off faucets, you know, just simple things, you know, if things, you know, progress where it was more difficult to
Well,
use.
even for us, I got like one of those clips that you would clip papers with, and help straighten out the toothpaste tube and mount it
yeah.
up and put the clip at the bottom.
So you don't always have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually very smart. And so that's literally the simple, you know, just simple everyday things make a big difference. So
I'm always, when different times people, I try to think of things, you know, to correct.
yeah, and you can share it with everyone too. So, and you've got good creative people here to help. I know. I mean, truly, that is a huge benefit. Definitely utilize your resources. So dressing and clothing. So, you know, sometimes, you know, these tools like a long-handled shoe horn, sock aid, reacher. Those are things that, you know, people with orthopedic injuries or disabilities we recommend, but also it can help with movement disorders as well. Let's see, I did put on there like, you know, non-slip shoes to help prevent falls, slip-on. This brand, Kizik shoes, I don't know if you've seen, there's been some commercials recently too, but they're, you know, you don't have to bend down, you just slide your foot in and they go on. You know, usually tennis shoes, if you're pushing down, the back, you know, wants to kind of collapse, it makes it harder.
Yeah, he has trouble because he has long and narrow feet.
Yeah.
And but he recently, you know, he has diabetes, so he just recently
Oh, the
got a
diabetic
pair.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are usually good. Are those what he has on? Yeah, they've made them to look so much nicer too. So, yeah, and you've got that, so you don't have to tie them, so that's perfect. And then I added and again, this would not be, you know, probably for any of you, but like, so there is a couple of websites. If you're handy and can sew, you know, sewing on Velcro, snaps, things like that make a difference. Buck and Buck is a website, you know, we have recommended before. Magna Ready, it's, you know, so it's the shirt, you know, dress shirts, it looks like it's, you know, a normal shirt, but it's magnetic. So it's things, so there are lots of resources out there to make things easier. I did put on here driving, so obviously with Parkinson's, you know, it's a physical ability or safety, but also your independence. So I mentioned earlier about, you know, Fraser has a great driving evaluation. I mean, nobody wants to give up their keys, and that's a very tough thing, especially if you live alone. I have in home health, I see a lot of people that, you know, it's like, well, they may not have anyone to take them to doctor's appointments. So just trying to provide resources for transportation, because you still want to be independent and active.
It seems like, I don't know, we find the issue, like, anymore I drive most of the time because one, sometimes he doesn't know when he's overtired.
Right,
and
and
we don't want
fatigue
to fall
is
asleep
a big thing.
at the wheel. And second, sometimes because like you said, the weakness, sometimes he leans one way and that affects his driving too.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a way so he doesn't lean. and because if you're leaning, then it tends to.
Well, and that typically would mean that you're more tired, you're more fatigued, and you know, and that's when we wouldn't advise, you know, like even with anyone to get in the car and drive. But I know that's a tough call.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely, if you've noticed things, then that's something that you might want to talk to your doctor.
Sometimes we'll go, we'll go to the store that's nearby when I know that he's fully rested and
Oh, yeah.
he's
So,
wide awake.
Yeah, and you know him, and yes, definitely. As long as you're feeling safe and he feels safe, then, I mean, and that's the main thing, you know, the reflexes. But if there's any question, then the programs that, you know, not everybody wants to go have a driver's evaluation, I get that, but you know, I have had many people that, you know, they really want to get back to being independent and driving, and they gladly go do that. And if some reason they weren't found to be safe, then that makes them understand and feel better about, okay, I guess it is time to, you know,
So we don't go very far anymore.
yeah, and most people don't. You know, you can, you know, I don't know where you all live, but you know, there's usually
I'm
very
talking
short
like long
distance.
distance. Like,
Yeah.
And you weren't driving too much anymore because we don't. I don't feel comfortable driving a long distance, and usually he was the one who would drive.
Yeah.
And now it's like.
Right.
So, and our kids like to agree. They said, "Don't worry about it. We'll try to." You know, the ones that are out
They'll
of
come
town,
to you,
we'll
yeah.
try to come, but still,
Well, that's
we want to go where they're at.
Yeah, sure.
It makes it hard.
Well, so do you all have any questions about just occupational therapy in general? I know it's a lot of information.
I want to look over this.
Yeah, so I just, I mean, I can give you all
Cause
to take.
I don't know, I always thought that they look more like, sometimes like you said, the safety of the home. I always wanted
Yes.
information about that.
So
just
this
to
is
make
a-
sure that
This is a
They
long
say-
list of,
Oh.
of home safety, so, but it's just, you know, kind of keeping in your, some people want to. And I've got plenty of these, so you want to take some. So, I mean, we don't have to go over everything, but, it's just, you know, from occupational therapists and physical therapists, and working with caregivers.
And we
Oh, do you-
love David Spinning.
They're such a-
They're great resource.
Yes, so this is where that's from. And they are a huge resource. I have honestly given so much information
They
from
love to
their
work
website.
together and they're
Oh, that's
great.
great. So it's, you know, it's just things to, you know, to look at when you are at home, or, you know, a lot of it, you know, like nobody here is using a wheelchair, so I mean, that doesn't apply to you, but if a walker is, you know, something that, you know, the rollator walkers that have the brakes, you know, we see, I had a client this past week that forgot to lock her brakes and sat down, and, you know, so it's like simple things. I mean, it can happen. Falls can happen. I mean, it can happen to me. I could, you know, fall, but this guide is just kind of like, you know, kind of trying to avoid those things. You know, it's just kind of being proactive. Definitely things that you may not necessarily need to do now, but it's kind of maybe just file this away and have it as a good resource. I'm trying to see if anything really jumps out. Yeah, it's a long list.
Well, Eric, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm not gonna go through the whole list because it's a
These are very good.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a very good checklist, and we'll probably actually make some more of these and hand them out in class, and then also
Oh, she's good.
Yeah, I've got it.
yeah, and if anybody sees this on YouTube or online, if anybody wants any information or would like one yourself, just reach out to us or email us, and we'll make sure that you get checklists as well. We could probably even find a link and probably
Yes, and
link
that's
this onto
exactly what I did.
onto the website.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of good information.
Any questions?
Any questions?
All right.
It
Well,
sounds
thank
like you
so
all
much.
did a lot of OT, you know, to,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
so that's fantastic, so.
Yeah, we were just doing a lot of fine motor skills, but then end up telling them, you know, that this is actually occupational therapy if you don't know what
But it's
occupational
things that
therapy
people
is.
can
so
do without needing an OT, you
Yeah.
know, obviously at home, so that was wonderful.
Just being preventative.
Yes, and that is the key, is, you know, trying to prevent you know, a decline, so.
That's what we're
Well,
all
thanks
about.
for having me, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.